some brief housekeeping and provide some accessibility information. Today's lecture will last around 30 minutes. After this, we will take a 5-minute comfort break before we are joined by our speakers for a live Q&A, which will be moderated by Daniela Petrelli, who is Professor of Interaction Design at Sheffield Hallam University. We really welcome all your questions, so please feel free to start placing them into the Q&A box throughout the lecture. This lecture is captioned, and live captioning will be available for the Q&A as well. Unless you're watching on a mobile device, you can enable this by clicking Meeting, Automated Captions at the bottom of your screen. The event is being recorded and will be uploaded to our website as soon as possible after the event. If you would like to follow or take part in the conversation on X, our handle is @UKNatArcRes, or you can search for UK National Archives Research, and the hashtag for today's event is ADL 2023. Following today's event, we'll be sending out an online feedback survey. Your feedback is truly invaluable to us and planning these events such as this, so please do fill that in if you have 5 or 10 minutes to spare. You may not know this, but the National Archives is an independent research organisation, otherwise known as an IRO. Recognised as such by UKRI and its research councils, we are a research active organisation with the in-house capacity to carry out research projects that substantially extend and enhance the national research base across the cultural heritage sector, demonstrating our independent capability to undertake and lead innovative and exciting research programmes. Our research is inherently interdisciplinary, drawing on the skills and expertise of archivists, conservators, historians, computer scientists, digital humanists, and many others. While our research contributes to multiple fields of knowledge, it speaks primarily to the opportunities and challenges we face as an archive. The research we undertake is essential to meeting this goal and to delivering the transformation described in Archives for Everyone. However, we do not only strive to be innovative and cutting edge in the research that we conduct, but also in how we interact with and think about the wider shifts in the research landscape, advocating for an inclusive, disruptive, creative, collaborative, and intersectional research culture, which in turn expands how we value and understand research. In particular, the exploration of digital ideas is a hugely important part of our archival work, and the annual digital lecture offers the opportunity to hear from leading speakers on a topic related to digital research and practice. If you're interested in learning more about our research, you can find out about previous and current projects on our website, read our blogs, and stay up to date with us on X. Tying into the annual digital lecture, we are also releasing a short audio series with accompanying blogs in the new year on the theme of care and the digital landscape, so do keep your eyes peeled for that. This year, we're delighted to be welcoming Savina Sarana and Ada Awais to deliver the 2023 Annual Digital Lecture. Savina and Ada are the co-founders of Identity 2.0, a creative studio that works at the intersection of digital rights, technology, and identity. Savina Sarana is an award-winning creative communicator and producer. For over 7 years, she has told stories of social good for clients such as the United Nations Foundation, Museum of London, and Lego, crafting narratives that inspire change and challenge the status quo. So she is an associate board member at Abandon Normal Devices, a radical arts organisation curating art and exploring technology and science, and has been named a web champion by Sir Tim Berners-Lee and future leader by Creative Equals. Ada Awais is an award-winning multidisciplinary designer and creative technologist. She has a Bachelor of Engineering in Design Engineering and since has worked across the creative industry. Her work ranges across research, user experience, creative coding, and exhibition curation. She has delivered workshops and spoken at Hyper Island University, the Creative Computing Institute, University of Oxford, and Mozilla Festival. She has won a British Interactive Media Association award in the Creatives and Designers category and has also been named a web champion by Sir Tim Berners-Lee. Together as Identity 2.0, their work includes exhibitions and projects such as Living Objects, a digital experience exploring the intersectional experiences of climate change, Landless, an interactive digital space exploring 6 key areas where the climate migrant crisis will peak and the borders which will leave them landless, and The Open Garden, an online festival exploring the relationship between race and technology. Today, their talk, Making Memories in the Digital Age, will examine the ways in which digital spaces impact our understanding and creation of memories. Through themes of self-care, community and legacies, it explores how technology has impacted our collective sense of memory and memory making, and how in response, our understanding of archiving is evolving beyond traditional structures. So, without further ado, Identity 2.0.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this year's annual digital lecture for the National Archives. We are Identity 2.0, and we'll be talking to you about memory making in a digital age. As a creative studio working at the intersection of digital rights, identity, and technology, we're excited to bring some of these questions we probe into our work. For the next half an hour, we will explore what digital memories mean and how they help us build our own personal digital archives. We will look at how archiving is changing and the ways digital tools are being used to do this in ways that centre on personal care. We will also examine how legacies are created online and what implications this has for our future. We will offer new perspectives on how we can approach memory making in digital spaces.
So earlier this year, a user shared a tweet which said that a parent had set up an email for his daughter since she was a baby. And every now and then he would email her thoughts, like a little journal about their life together. So when she's older, he will print it out and give it to her. It received over 250,000 views, and the sentiment in the comments was largely positive. People saying how cute it was, or just lots of crying emojis. But it made me pause and reflect a lot on what this tells us about memory. The way this person was looking at inbox as a form of an archive, a forever pit into which he could safely store precious moments he'd want to share with his daughter when she was older. But a lot could change in 20 years. What if he forgot his password? What if the web service doesn't exist anymore in the future? Or if the way we access emails has changed so much that we won't be able to print out things anymore? What if he passes away? Where will his daughter then go to find these precious memories? This father views emails as a digital tool he can rely on to safely store his memories. But it also requires an ever expanding digital world to pour these memories into. Memory is one of the things that makes us human. How it influences our sense of identity is something that philosophers have questioned for years. And to question the relationship between media and memory is also not a new provocation, but something countless academics and interesting dinner parties have revisited over the years. How do tools we build and use every day alter our understanding of memory? As our practice examines our relationship with the digital world, we wanted to look at ways technology has shaped and is shaping our memory and our understanding of it. Going back to this example with the father, it's clear for this parent and for many that technology has become a way to record memory. We feel like it can be stored safely in text, videos, emojis, in our digital devices. Something for us to revisit when we want to be reminded of what to buy someone for their birthday or songs from a particular time. The instant access to a camera has also changed our ability to view and kind of look at other thousands of photos from around the world too. Means we can now rely on technology to both reinforce and prompt our memory. There's also the memory that digital devices hold of us. Whether we like it or not, our online trail is one of IP addresses and cookies, tracking our movements and labeling us whether we want it to or not. Not only are we forming our own memories online, but the digital is remembering us. Even socially, digital memories are far widely circulated than ever before, with people you never meet in person having the chance to view or dissect your memories. With this constant recording and surveillance of oneself, it's worth thinking about what this does to our perception of memory itself. Professor Andrew Hoskins from the University of Glasgow talks about this fetishization of total or absolute memory. With technology at our hands and instant access to our own personal memory bank, we have shifted our understanding of what a memory is. No longer is it a purely human endeavor, it's one that has merged with technology to be complicit in it. And it also becomes more completist. That's total memory, the absolute memory and remembering all. We see this as a desire to document one's life. But where does this leave the surprises that memory can prompt? Voluntary memory can surprise and delight us. A smell in the gym can remind you of an ex, or a song playing in another country can remind you of home. Our human pre-tech memory is one of surprising connections. Hoskins brilliantly brings up Ratatouille as a great example of what a difference voluntary memory can make. The ending of that movie would be very different if we only ever relied on technology. So memory is something that is ever changing. Your thoughts and feelings of that smell of your ex might change if you decide to rekindle that love. How you view your memory changes, therefore how you imagine it could also change. Technology doesn't seem to have the same flexibility. Once it's recorded, it's there. Your feelings can change, but the actual media itself cannot. But a lot of this technology was never designed to hold our memories. They are advertising machines or a service provider. Yet, as a memory is a core part of who we have leveraged this technology and made it into spaces for us. Many social media platforms include the feature "on this day" or "2 years ago" feature, which shows what you shared on that platform at that time. This is framed as a memory capture, when in reality it's just an instance, just a snapshot of it. Memories are much more than the angle that you captured it on your phone.
So we have seen a shift that memories are now being associated to what we have stored on our devices. These are now digital memories. And everyday communication adds to this. Every link, message, tweet, like, email, DM, it's all archived for us to revisit. Whether we like it or not, the internet is a place where something can continue to exist long after it's been shared. When we look at traditional archiving, not everything makes the cut. Not everything is preserved. Things do get lost in time. But when we are online, even in death, you are still able to find memories left by a person. We have curated vast memory banks without even trying. And if something has become viral, it exists in the minds of thousands, even if it is to be deleted. A really good example of this is Vine. It's an app that helped pioneer short form video content by restricting its users to 6 seconds of footage. It was launched in 2013 and then discontinued in 2017. Vine was very popular throughout these 5 years and really important in pop culture. Many videos became viral with people quoting what was said in the Vines. So what happened when this platform no longer existed? Some Vines were able to be uploaded onto YouTube or saved onto personal devices to be reshared between people or on other platforms. But some just vanished, never to be watched again. The impact of Vines means that we still see people quote them in conversations or reference them in memes today, because it now exists in our collective memories. We have preserved and extended the content that was shared within 5 years to many, many more. This is the power of digital memories. They are often a shared experience between many people, passing borders and time zones, all connected because of a piece of content we all enjoyed. These digital memories can then build up our digital archives. But I think it's important for us to define what an archive is first. Traditionally, an archive is a place or collection containing records, documents, or other materials of historical interest. But what if this place is online? And what constitutes as historical interest? I can argue that a viral video that has shaped pop culture is of historical interest. But if these archives' place is online, then this opens up the space even more. I can say we all have digital archives of our own in some sort of way. For example, I have an active email address I've had for nearly 20 years now. So when I heard about the example Sabina shared earlier, I found it quite relatable. But unlike the father, I unintentionally created a memory bank for myself. I still use this email address today, and it dates back to a time when my only use for this email so that I could contact family members that live far away from me. This is what inbox are designed to do though, send messages or information across to people. But now, my inbox holds so many memories, and it captures how I've grown up in a digital age. Even newsletter sign-ups at different time of my life can be used to uncover my interests at that time. I do sometimes look back at these emails to reminisce. For many of us, We also have a social media presence too. This is another place for us to consider. We create our profile with posts we want to showcase, places we've been to, food that we've eaten, people that we've seen or met. All of these things can be argued to be of historical interest to an individual person, and even more true when that person is already making their mark in history. For example, this could be a musician or a politician. Without even noticing, we've created our own personal digital archives. The social media example I find quite interesting because there's also information that's collected about us behind the scenes, like location data, time spent on the app, and what type of content we engage with that will feed our algorithms. Then there's also the societal pressure that comes on top with social media accounts. People are cautious to what to post or the best thing to post, or certain things might not make the cut because it's too personal to share. So this is when we see people use these digital tools to create for themselves, to create a space for themselves online. And this can manifest in different ways. People can use a Dropbox or a Google account to share memories with family or upload their pictures. I've seen unlisted YouTube links to share wedding videos with family and friends. And most recently, we are seeing people create something called Instagrams, private social media accounts to post their lives more freely without the pressure of getting it right or submitting metrics. These are digital personal archives that center care, care in curating, and then care in reminiscing. These spaces are created for their own enjoyment rather than anything else. And if you speak to people who do things like this, they often express how they do this to archive their memories, to have a place to come back to, and to see their progress, their life, and what happened at certain moments in time. A place to be more forgiving and free to be themselves completely. Usually these accounts have a low number of followers too, mainly close family or friends. And this level of privacy centers you back into your own historical importance. They are intentionally creating a personal archive for themselves digitally. They see the power of how to do this, and they do it for themselves more than anything else. This same approach can be then seen to be used across different communities to archive stories of their own. For example, I follow an Instagram account called Somalia Architecture. This account showcases old images of Somalia before the civil war, sometimes even 3D renders of how towns and roads in Somalia looked like in the 80s. You can send in your own images to the account too, and its goal is to preserve the history of Somalia's architecture and history. For many people of the diaspora whose parents or grandparents fled the war, and they have grown up elsewhere, a lot of images of Somalia in general media showcase famine and broken cities. So this account gives a glimpse to Somalia's rich history and stories so that it can continue to live on. Another example I've seen is an interactive website called Queering the Map. This is a community platform that digitally archives queer experiences in relation to physical spaces. From park benches to the middle of the ocean, the aim of this project is to preserve queer histories and their realities. The website holds hundreds of stories, from love, joy, sadness, or pain. People are encouraged to submit their own story, and it states, if it counts for you, then it counts for Queering the Map. The project works to connect queer people from across borders, sharing similar stories and revealing the ways they are intimately connected. A physical space holds so many memories, and it is a way we traditionally reflect back on the past. But for Queering the Map, it's also a way that points out the limitation of how the world is produced and normalized for certain bodies and not theirs. A way for them to put a mark on their space and share their story. People are using the tools we have to create a space where their history can be shared and preserved. And if you think about it, if you come from a community where your history isn't as widely documented, to have that space and to even add to that space would feel liberating. It's interesting to see how groups of people come together and can benefit from these spaces. These tools were not designed with the intention to be our personal archives or community archives, but we have leveraged them to do just that.
So, as discussed, people have created their own digital spaces of care despite the infrastructures being limited. We find liberation in moments of digital entrapment. But here are larger conversations to be had about how digital memories are stored and controlled. As discussed, we can view spaces like emails and YouTube as digital archives, but we can also think of these things as time traps. Some of the most prevalent ways this is happening is on social media. A key example happened this year thanks to, or in spite of, Elon Musk's leadership of X or Twitter, depending on who you are and how you like to talk about it. Many online tools used for archiving tweets accurately with their metadata, such as PolitiTweet, which monitored and archived the accounts of over 1,000 politicians and important figures, no longer functions after Elon Musk changed the cost of Twitter's API earlier this year. These tools were used by academics, journalists, and archivists to systematically and verifiably archive nearly 1 million deleted tweets. As a result, archivists now have to rely on screenshots which could be faked or are already deleted of old tweets, which is a much more arduous and less efficient process. This change has already had consequences for archivists who are struggling to record important details about the Gaza conflict. The Internet Archive is a digital collection of over 7 million books, nearly 15 million audio files as well, and has a searchable database of over 735 billion web pages. It regularly indexes, allowing users to access sites month by month, including those which have disappeared or changed dramatically. Unfortunately, the Internet Archive's public library of media is facing lawsuits from the publishing and music industry, which may have larger consequences for the future of copyright and media. Now, the future of copyright and media is a whole nother talk which we won't be going into today. But what is interesting around the Internet Archive is the physicality of it. It's located in a Californian town of Richmond, just 20-minute drive from San Francisco. Visitors can tour the facility and see how it operates, including the many servers that store the Internet Archives. Because when we talk about things online, it often feels like we're talking in metaphors. The internet is a forever expanding space waiting for us to fill it up. Or rather, as the phrase goes, the cloud is just someone else's computer. This means that every time we upload things to an online storage space, send a photo in WhatsApp, or record a talk for the National Archives, it still has to be stored somewhere. Cloud spaces exist on individual servers found at data centers and server farms around the world. Data centers and collection providers offer service space for cloud computing. While the internet at times feels intangible and our memories are treated as ethereal, they are stored somewhere out there on a piece of hardware. So whilst technology has transformed our idea of memory, has it really changed the archive? Or has it changed the method by which we record things into a physical space? We need to take a closer look at these physical spaces to find out more. They often look like this, an endless cascade of server flashing lights and interconnected wires lying across thousands of square meters. There are around 600 hyperscale data centers, ones with over 5,000 servers in the world. Around 39% of them are in the US, while China, Japan, UK, Germany, and Australia account for around 30% of the total too. So that right there is your cloud storage. This is where all those precious memories of the personal and the collective and the community are being stored. As it's a physical structure, it also has physical constraints. There are only so many resources that can be supplied to create it. So we then have to consider the environmental consequences of running a data center. It is estimated that data centers consume about 3% of our global electricity supply and account for around 2% of total CO2 emissions. That's about the same as the entire airline industry. And producing that much energy is also going to be very hot work. Apparently, if you go and visit the Internet Archive, the founder, Bruce DeKale, says they don't have air conditioning, and if it gets hot, they just open the windows. But most data centers don't operate that way. Instead, they use immense water consumption. A single data center can use the power equivalent of a small city and require a significant amount of water for cooling. As an extreme example, a 15 megawatt data center in the USA can use up to 360,000 gallons of water a day. And more often than not, the water is stored in cooling towers, which have their own environmental consequences too. So really, an important question to be asking here is this a sustainable way to be thinking about the future of our archives?
So, how can we entrust our memories in these spaces? We have no promise that the same platforms we flooded our digital memories with will preserve them for us. So, what can we do to change that? One recent example is from Modern. They are a design and innovation studio that has researched this topic. They state, we entrust our most intimate memories to the cloud, yet we will probably outlive our storage providers. So through conceptual design, they've offered a solution to this, an heirloom. Heirlooms are passed down through generations and hold stories about our family lineage. So one solution they explore is a small hard drive that's embedded within a necklace. It takes advantage of the human tendency we have to hang onto sentimental objects and a behavior we already possess, handing items of value down to our children and hope for them to do the same. Not entrusting the cloud helps to protect our digital memories, but hard drives can have their disadvantages. For example, floppy disks were used widely in the 90s, but finding a computer to be able to access that data now is more difficult than it was then. So how can we know for sure we can access these memories in the future? I do think having physical data storage is a really interesting approach to personal digital archives and a way to preserve our memories. It also gives us a limitation on how much data we can put onto a physical storage device, making us pick and choose what holds the most historical interest and what we want to pass down. Now that place of an archive we spoke about earlier would dangle on our necks. But this is only one solution. We need more to be able to combat the chances of losing our memories in a digital abyss. Interestingly enough, there has been a boom in the market in creating traditional photo books, printing pictures and preserving them in a way that has been done in generations before us. But what about the voice notes and the videos we cherish too? Right now, the future of archiving looks like a battle between cloud-based storage or physical storage spaces. And that's not enough. How do we as a collective want to access and store our memories? To design a way so that in 10, 20, 30 years' time, we can revisit our personal archives.
So each day on Earth, we generate around 500 million tweets, 294 billion emails, 4 million gigabytes of Facebook data, 65 billion WhatsApp messages, and 720,000 hours of new content for YouTube. As we've demonstrated, this is more than just data. These can be memories. These can be important collective memories that reflect our communities that we want to save. So it shouldn't be down to a few in Silicon Valley to decide what is saved and what is remembered for the rest of history. I believe that people will continue to create spaces out of care and community. The impulse to remember and be remembered will not fade away, but transform as technology changes and the needs of our planet and people do too. So what if digital spaces started with those ideas at the center? If we start by thinking of digital spaces as individual spaces of care and comfort for us to remember ourselves and our community, what could they look like? Who would be involved in their creation? And how would that affect our idea of memory? Now that's a future I'm excited to see. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you to Sabina and Arda for this very interesting and inspiring talk. We will now take a 5 minutes comfort break. Please keep your question coming through so that we can collect them, and then we start again in around 5 minutes for the question and answer session with the speakers and the question that you are sending to us. So it's now 11:31. So I suggest that we meet at 11:40, so a little bit more than 5 minutes, and see you in a few minutes. And please send your question through to the question answer or the chat, and we will filter and discuss, later on.